SportsOnTapPodcast.com, the place to go where you can listen to past shows, read featured articles, check out all of our social media updates, plus much, much more. SportsOnTapPodcast.com, the official website of Sports on Tap.
For up-to-the-minute info on local high school sports action, including photos, videos, and live updates, be sure to follow Sports on Tap on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook.
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey. G&G Fitness. Your goal is our goal.
RRT Productions, specializing in creating sports recruiting videos for all high school athletes. Want to play at the next level? Promote your talents with a video to send colleges. Affordable, experienced, and a high-quality video. Make us your local video production company. Visit our website, rrt-productions.com, and contact us today. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win.
I'm Rob Troutman, and now joining us on the RRT Productions hotline, he is head coach of the Brunswick Blue Devils football program. Mark Pinzone joins me, and he's in his third season now as he's getting geared up here. The season's about to start, Coach, and thanks for taking time to join me here today.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You know, last year was a little bit of a tough year, but you get into this season. Talk a little bit, maybe about a few of the seniors that, had some key roles and that will be filled by some of your other players, whether it's offense and defense, some players that will have impacts for you this season.
Well, Rob, we definitely lost a couple of kids that were, some really good kids and hard workers and good leaders. What stands out to me most, we had a defensive player, Bobby Lindsay, who was one of our captains last year. It was just a great young man, a great leader that really worked hard to try to keep us together as a captain during a difficult season last year. So he played defense and offense for us and was our team leader defensively. And Dakota Lavender was another young man that will be missed. Again, another captain that did a great job for us last year as a running back and a defensive back. And again, much like Bobby, really worked hard to try to keep the team together in difficult times. So those seniors will be missed. And we've got some guys this year that have stepped up, some that are returning starters, some that are younger guys that got a little playing time as sophomores last year and started to play last year and took some licks, and now they're juniors and ready to go, and some new guys, and we've got a nice mix of kids, and we are really, really excited about this year, and I couldn't be happier at this point. And even though we haven't played a game yet, our kids have worked their tail off and done absolutely everything that we've asked them to do, and we're in game week now, and I think we're ready to go. We're going to fine-tune some things this week and be ready to open up on Friday night.
Now, how has the off season gone for you? I know I talk to a lot of coaches, and they talk about the camps and how it brings players together. How have your players responded? A tough season last year, now getting into this season. How have they responded to some of the early camps and some, either whether it's changes to certain defense or offense? How have they responded so far this season?
They've responded wonderfully. And like I said previously, I'm just so impressed with these group of young men, 10th through 12th grade. Obviously they want to win more than anything, but in addition to that, I think they really want to, show the school, their classmates, their teachers, their community, their parents, the alumni, and of course the conference, the league. That Brunswick's a program. They want to improve, and they've been improving. And to answer your question, have they responded to the changes that myself and the coaching staff have made in the off season? That's an absolute yes. From what we did in November when we took a month to put together an off-season lifting program that was significantly different than what we were doing the previous couple of years at Brunswick in our off-season from January to May. And the kids responded just unbelievably and had a great 5-month off-season. Then our preseason, I call it our preseason, the June, July, and mid-August, up to mid-August is our preseason. And what they've done there, getting more and more intensified with practices and conditioning and camps and instructional, we call it, and then into double sessions. They've done everything. They've really responded well to all that we've done. And on top of that, we've, brought in some new coaches and kind of reorganized some things of what we were doing offensively. We've got a few new offensive coaches, and I think the kids really responded to that as well. So we're doing quite a bit differently compared to last year and the year before, and I couldn't be happier. And the kids embracing what we were doing that's differently and being coachable. That's what they are. They're being coachable, and I'm real proud of them thus far.
Yeah, and that's an important part is when the kids, want to learn and are open to learning. And you've been in coaching a long time. What's been the transition? You've been, holy name, you were at Buckeye, and you come to a Brunswick program that, obviously is going to take a little time to develop and to grow this program. What's it been like for you to really grow this program and make changes, like you said, with the coaching staff and some of the other changes at Brunswick?
It's definitely been challenging. It certainly hasn't been easy. But at the same time, that's what we do. That's what coaches do. That's what head coaches do. And yeah, I've had some of that experience at Holy Name and Buckeye, and we had some transitions there that may have gone a little faster, but Brunswick's no different. And when you have, like you call it, a transition, it takes a little time, and it's different. The things that a coach and his staff want to do when they get hired, and come in. Sometimes those things happen quicker. Sometimes those changes happen slower. And while it may have taken a little time here, I think it's happening. I can see it. I can see, and my staff can see, the changes in our young men and in our parents and in our school, and embracing what we're trying to do in football here. And I think it's going well. I really do. Even despite maybe, the bumps and the bruises that we've taken along the way the past couple of years, everybody is really bought in, and you can see that we're ready to take off.
And I think you're right. Some things just take a little more time, and even though you might not see it in the win column, you can see the developments of the program overall, not just on the football field, but down, whether it's freshmen, the sophomores, and youth programs as well. So it's kind of a complete program there. Let's now look at your team. On the offensive side of the ball, we know you're an offensive genius, as we called it, when me and Josh played, and I know Ed as well. You were the offensive coordinator, and you had all kinds of plans and schemes. What players on the offensive side of the ball should we look out for this season?
Well, first, thanks for the really nice compliments. But just to be clear, over all those years, there was a lot of people that were part of our offensive scheme, and that started with, and not to talk about the past, but that started with one of our former head coaches, Rich Nowak, and yep. We've had some great offensive coaches over the years, some that are with us and some that are no longer with us, that have been fantastic. And this year we have an offensive coordinator that we hired, that I hired, Mark Maruna, who's coincidentally a middle school teacher for us in the Brunswick system, and he came from North Olmsted as a offensive coordinator there several years, and we brought in a receivers coach that worked with him before as well, and so we've made some changes. So offensively, we've got some coaches in place that are working for us that are doing an outstanding job, and Coach Dan Valori, and Coach Rich Nowak are still our offensive line coaches, and we've got a young man, Coach Coughlin, who's our running backs coach, and so we've got some great people on the offensive side of the ball, and the kids have really taken well to what we're doing offensively, because there's been several changes even in our vocabulary and in some of the play calling that we do and the things that we do. So I've been very happy with that. As far as the kids, if you're asking where we're at with kids, we've got several guys that are coming back this year that are playing for us up front. Guys like senior Mike Grzybowski and senior Eddie Zavastos, senior Mike Saris, Cooper Sirik, who's a senior. I think we all know junior Tomas Rimac, who's one of our big kids who's being recruited heavily, is coming back, and he'll be playing on the offensive line as well as the defensive end position. We've got great skill guys on the outside, just to name a few. We have Nick Hoover, who's going to be playing for us, and Jimmy Stalker. Those are seniors, and Christian Kovacic is a senior. He'll see some time. We've got a couple younger guys, Jake Dye, who's a junior. We also, I should mention, Jack Miller is a senior, and this real young man, Kanem Sam, who's an outstanding athletic sophomore who'll be playing on both sides of the ball for us. So we've got some great receivers and a couple of nice running backs and kids like Nick Fedini and Clint McKinley. And we actually have a tandem of quarterbacks that are working for us right now, Jake Charette and Jonah Clement, and they've been competing and working well together all summer long. So I kind of gave you a good chunk of what we're doing offensively with our people, and we're looking forward. These guys have been working their tail off, and as well as on defense. We're talking with Mark Pinzone. He's the head coach of the Brunswick Blue Devils football program as he joins us here on Sports on Tap. And Coach, defensively for your team now, I know, it's always interesting to hear those guys that play both ways, offense and defense. How many players do you have going both ways on the defensive side? Let's talk about some of the defensive players that you have that we should look out for. Well, I think it starts with, it's no secret, so our junior Tomas Rimac, again, the young man is being recruited heavily by a lot of schools. He's a big cat, he's 6'6", 280, and he runs well and he looks great. So, there's no shock that he's playing both sides of the ball for us. He'll be playing defensive end. And then there's going to be a lot of guys that are rotating. So when you say how many guys are going both ways, there's, after him, a lot of guys are going, I don't know what you want to call it, 1.5 ways, 1.25 ways, 1.75 ways. So for example, we've our two starting linebackers you'll see will be, Kyle Charette and Andrew Haber. Well, they play our H-back tight end position. They share that position. And that's a position that sometimes we have a lot of times in the ball game and sometimes we don't. So I don't know what you want to call those two. Are there 1.5 starters? I don't know what you want to call them, but but they'll be playing a lot. They also play in a couple special teams units. So what I know, they're playing a lot. So I'll be watching them. I'll be watching them. Making sure that they're watered down and that they're taken care of because they're a big piece of our team. And some of those guys I mentioned on the offensive line, like Zavastos and Grzybowski and some of those other guys. Brian Klesch is another young man that will be playing some defensive line. Dom Zvozil, as junior, will be playing defensive end. So there's some guys that, are playing a lot of offense and some defense, and we're playing a lot of defense and some offense. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of everything, and we try to get as many guys in there. Defensive backfields, a whole slew of kids. Again, names I've mentioned earlier: Kanem Sam and Jake Dye, and Christian Kovacic and Nick Hoover and Jack Miller, and we've got one kid that'll be available pretty soon, Jake Pykuch, who has a shoulder injury, but will be coming back soon. So there's several guys. Max Flavin is a senior who's working back there. A couple of young guys that are sophomores. This Jeff Petrowski is a sophomore. Luke Petrowski is a young man who's come and caught our eye on defense. So several kids, we're doing real well, and they're learning. And Coach Dooling, our defensive coordinator, who's now in his second year in that position, is really got a good base of defense, and being helped by Coach Tom Fasco, who's another legendary coach from Brunswick, and we're real excited about our defense as well. Yeah, I think it's fun too. You mentioned Coach Fasco and Coach Dreiss. He's still hanging out with Coach Nowak, and some of the coaches that have been there a long time, and even alumni. I know you've gotten a lot of the Brunswick alumni and the coaches that come back and stay involved. And I think that's pretty important with a program like Brunswick, because it's been so popular with alumni. I stay in touch with, obviously, Brunswick football, and so do many others, but it's always fun to keep an eye out. Now, when we look at the schedule, I know, your first game is against Lorraine, and Lorraine's a very athletic, good team. Then you go still out of conference versus North Royalton and Rhodes, and then you jump into conference. Talk a little bit about your schedule this year. Yeah, I think I mean, we all know it, and you've talked to anybody in our league, the Greater Cleveland Conference is a tough conference. Everybody calls it the meat grinder or whatever you want, death row, and I've heard all kinds. I've heard every word, I've heard every word since I've come back to Brunswick that you can, and it's a great conference that's got great players and great coaching staffs and good schools, and yeah, it's just tough, and we expect to compete in that conference. In our first three, we open up with Lorraine on Friday, and we've watched film on them, and we scouted them, and they are athletic. They're good. They're excited about their prospects for their season. They have some, very talented, quick players, and their quarterback, the young man's last name is Jackson, and their go-to receiver, Deshaun Lighty. Their running back, I mean, they've got 4 or 5 guys that just really move, that played a lot for them last year, and they're certainly aggressive and physical on defense, on film, and they move. So we're going to have our hands full, and we go into Royalton the following week, and Coach Tooley, who I've known for God knows how many years, and he's got a great program there, and he and his staff do a great job. I know a lot of those guys, and they're great people, and they've got a fantastic quarterback there that I believe is going to Akron, if I'm not mistaken, and they've got a MAC recruited offensive lineman, and they've got some great skill guys at slot and running back, and so they look good, and so we'll be working on them after Friday night, and then we'll host Rhodes, and like you said, Rob, get right into that supposed meat grinder conference, so we think we're ready for it, and we fully expect to compete.
Now, what are your thoughts? I noticed, Strongsville's usually the last game of the season. Now they've moved it up, and it's actually your second conference game this season. That's a pretty big change from, having Strongsville at the end of the season almost every year for as long as I can remember. How did you feel about seeing Strongsville kind of in the beginning of the season now?
Well, you always like rivalry games. We've had our hands full with Strongsville the past couple of years. They're going to come to our place week 5. And again, as I said earlier, we expect to compete and put ourselves in a position to win against them and everybody on our schedule. And, I was told that, I think it was a conference decision to do, a form of rotation with the how you play, when you play, where you play. And so I think the athletic directors got together and decided to do that for a variety of different reasons. And so this year we fall into week 5 with Strongsville, and we'll see where it takes us from there. So, again, like you said, the conference is tough. Whether you play a team week 10, week 8, week 5, it doesn't get any easier from week to week, no matter what the order is that you play. So that's the schedule provided us, just like every other school has, and we're going to play it as we're told and get ready for each game every week.
Yeah, and I know you finished the year with at Medina, which is another kind of rivalry game. So it's, almost every game on your schedule could be, considered a rivalry game, versus certain teams. But it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be interesting to see how some of these young guys are going to step up for you. And we really look forward to seeing the Blue Devils play this season.
Thanks, Rob. Me too.
Well, thanks for taking time to join us here on Sports on Tap and taking time out of your day. And have a great week and a great season. We'll be watching.
Thanks again, Rob. Appreciate it.
All right, that's head coach of the Brunswick Blue Devils, Mark Pinzone, joining us here on Sports on Tap.